Hey guys, today we're driving the 2021 Genesis GV80, and we are in a slightly different spec from what we had in our last video. This GV80 is the 2.5 liter turbo rear-wheel drive Prestige model. So we've got the 2.5 that we're testing out. I really like this engine in the G80, and I think for $55,000, it represents pretty good value in this segment, especially with all the other features you get in this GV80. It has 300 horsepower, 311 pound-feet of torque, a meaty power band. It doesn't sound terrible, and it's just kind of quiet and stays out of the way. And you save a little bit of money, save a little weight, you get slightly better fuel economy, and might be a good option for those who don't really care about that extra oomph from the V6 engine. It's mated with a Genesis's 8-speed automatic transmission, which works very well. I like that this is a rear-wheel drive based SUV. It's pretty cool. It makes for nice handling and driving characteristics. And yeah, let's talk about this GV80. This is a pretty nice package. I don't think it's class leading in too many ways, but it's a little bit of a different option. People seem to really like it in the wild, out on a daily basis. I've gotten a lot of looks, a lot of compliments on this car. And of course, in this color, it looks fantastic. I love this beige interior with the green exterior. I think it looks really sharp. So with the Prestige package, we get these 20-inch wheels, a bunch of other nice features inside and out, leather, panoramic sunroof, all that good stuff. I still really like the design of this GV80. I think it looks so sharp, but it's definitely loud and brash and a little bit more, I don't know, prestigious. For an SUV that starts around $50,000, this looks like a much more expensive vehicle. It has a lot of room, a lot of space in the back and on the inside. And that's why you buy an SUV, is for the room and the space. And this is pretty good packaging, really nice high roof height, decent loading height back here. You can quickly fold down the second row. I'll show you what that looks like. Lots of rear leg room. We've got this privacy screen right here too. No spare tire, unfortunately. Just a little bit of storage. I think it looks pretty good at just about every angle. The taillight design, the turn signals, how they're integrated into the side fender with the headlights, it all makes for a pretty cohesive look. And of course, Genesis hasn't gone shy on the grille. Nice flat loading surface if you need it. And these rear seats recline quite a bit, which is very nice. Plenty of legroom back here. Seated behind myself at 5'10". I'm very comfortable. We have a rear window privacy screen and just a very nice, open, airy, spacious cabin. USB charge ports down there and a 115 volt, 150 watt plug outlet. Rear climate control, rear heated seats. 3-zone climate control on this. You have to swing for the 3.3 T for the third row, but honestly, I think for an SUV this size, the third row is cutting it a little bit close, and it'd be a little bit too tight for my tastes. There we go. This does have the Lexicon audio system. You know what, we're gonna leave the keys in here so that it doesn't keep beeping at me. Let's check out this 2.5 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder. I've really enjoyed this engine in all of its applications. It's a pretty big 4-cylinder turbo. Drives very nice. Gets about 25 miles to the gallon on the highway. Around 23 combined. This week we've averaged a little bit less than that. Check out Charlie's fuel economy test on Daily Motor for some detailed real-world fuel economy numbers. Now, overall, I'm pretty sold on the design of this GV80, except for the steering wheel. It's a little bit strange. I kind of like it because it's weird. It's comfortable and nice to live with because you can rest your hand on the bottom of this 2-spoke wheel. But I think it doesn't quite fit the aesthetic of the rest of the car. That said, though, I'm not passionately hating on it. I think it's fine. It's just a little bit of a weird thing to look at and a slight differentiator from the norm with a lot of other SUVs. I like that Genesis is kind of being a little bit more bold with the steering wheel design. At least it's not boring, even though it maybe reminds you of an 80s or 90s Buick. This is a very easy to live with and usable cabin. Lots of buttons. Not a whole lot is hidden inside the infotainment. We have a digital display here for the heated steering wheel and heated seats. A little bit of haptic feedback every time you touch the screen there, which is nice. Auto climate control, quick access buttons right here. Wireless charging, and we have the Genesis has given you every feasible option to control this infotainment. It's a touch screen, it's a little touch pad down here, it's a scroll wheel. None of it works particularly well, but it gets the job done. And you kind of have to recalibrate your brain every time you want to switch between the scroll wheel and the touch pad. But I think once you get this car set up, once you've kind of learned your way around it, it's okay. I have gotten a little bit confused this week between the drive mode selector and the transmission selector and the scroll wheel. They're all circles and they're all kind of the same size and close to each other. I'm not crazy about this slider volume and tune knob, but again, they work. Same thing on the steering wheel. It looks nice and it looks very high-end and very luxurious. All the buttons, the materials, the knobs, they have this kind of knurled finish and it looks really nice and feels good in hand. Feels very high quality. This drive mode selector gives you a few different options: sport, custom, comfort, eco. And when you put it into sport mode, the seats hug you just a little bit more. Of course, you can customize all that stuff. This even has the seats that on long road trips, they will adjust to kind of keep your blood flowing nicely, which is always a good thing. A couple of cup holders down here, a little bit of storage space in the center console. Really quite impressed with the fit, the finish, the build quality of this car. Genesis has done a really nice job putting this all together, and nice interior lights. It's just, I feel like this is a very luxurious vehicle, and with all the features that you get for 58 grand with this thing fully loaded, it's a pretty good deal too. I think I would probably not swing for the Prestige package, but the advanced package is pretty nice in this GV80, and that would put it in kind of the mid 50s. And compare that to a BMW or Audi, this makes for pretty good value. I would be hard-pressed to choose between this and maybe an XC60 or an XC90 or the new Acura MDX. All right, guys, before we get started with this drive, I would like to thank our sponsor for this video, Fantom Wallet. They are a minimalist wallet company based out of Canada, and they make very high-quality, very nice minimalist wallets with a bunch of different attachments on them. And I have on my personal wallet the key attachment, so I can just kind of keep everything I need all in one place. They have a bunch of different options on their website. This Fantom R, you can bolt on a lot of different accessories, and it's very versatile, very well made. This carbon fiber finish is kind of my favorite because it holds up really well to use. It doesn't look that much worse for wear after about 8 months of use, which I've really kind of put this thing through the ringer. I like that it barely takes up any room in your pocket. It's very slim, but it also feels very solid. And I don't know, they've got a cool automotive enthusiast theme going here, and a really nice product. If you're interested in a new wallet, check out their website, fantomwallet.com. And if you use the discount code TOPHER at checkout, you'll get 10% off your order. All right, let's hit the road in this new GV80 2.5T rear-wheel drive. So I will admit, I didn't realize this was a rear-wheel drive car until I actually looked at the spec sheet and Monroney. It really puts its power down impressively well, and we've had some wet, rainy days out here recently. There's not a lot of wheel spin, not a lot of drama, up to speed. The steering is a little bit lighter, the front end feels a little bit lighter and more nimble. But overall, if you don't live in an area that gets inclement weather, you don't really need the all-wheel drive, this is a pretty good buy. And you do pay quite a premium for the all-wheel drive. I believe it's around $4,000 or $5,000. Let's put it into sport mode. This 8-speed is awesome, super responsive, very smooth, very comfortable, paired very nicely with this 2.5-liter turbo. No complaints about the drivetrain in this GV80. I do really, really like what Genesis has done here. They've done a really nice job tuning it, setting it up. hear a little bit of piped in noise in sport mode from this 4-cylinder, but I don't think it's too bad. You can probably turn that down in the settings too. And a decent amount of power here. 300 horsepower, 311 pound-feet of torque. That goes a long way. Let's see how it does from a dig here. In sport mode. Nice rotation. Very flat cornering. You get into the kickdown switch on the throttle pedal. There is definitely not the same power level as you get in the turbo V6, but that's okay. I think for most drivers who aren't going to be hot shoeing it everywhere or don't necessarily care about that higher trim engine, this is a very solid option for the majority of normal consumers who are going to be buying this car. Let's put it back into comfort mode. We've got all sorts of great driving assistance features here. We can, let's see, how do we get into cruise control? There we go. Highway driving assist. We can skip 5-mile-an-hour increments. It keeps you beautifully centered between the lines. We've got a little bit of wind noise, but for the most part, this is a very quiet cabin and quiet interior. It's bouncing back and forth a little bit between the lines, but for the most part, that's the wind. Pretty high winds today. These are easy systems to engage and disengage on the fly. And I like that it has these turn signal cameras where it shows you what's in your inner blind spot right over there, replacing the tach. I still haven't seen what the 3D gauge cluster looks like in the 3.3T Prestige model, but in this GV80, the one analog gauge and the one digital gauge, I think, serves its purpose. There's something nice about a sharp analog gauge that's just clear, it's simple. Love how wide the screen is. It's a nice screen, it's pretty responsive. The controls can be a little bit clumsy, like I mentioned earlier. Blind spot's freaking out there. The ride quality is excellent, even on these 20-inch wheels. Again, I'd probably swing for the 19s, even though they don't look as good. We do have self-leveling rear suspension. I'm feeling a slightly lighter front end. A reasonable amount of steering feel and rotation for an SUV. Pretty nicely tuned and set up. Handles, rides, just fine. Not quite as nice as the new Acura MDX, but for what you're paying and what you're getting out of this, I think it's a good balance. And that just kind of goes to say, this is a really well-balanced package. I don't think it really excels in any area, but it gives you good value for what you're paying. A lot of nice options and features that maybe aren't included in the German vehicles. Let's put it into sport mode one more time. Use these paddle shifters. Pretty surprised at how quickly this downshifts. This is a great chassis. That suspension does a great job getting you turned in and rotated around a corner. I don't think this GV80 drives as well as the Genesis G80, just based on the fact that this is an SUV, higher center of gravity, and the sedans, I mean, you know, that's a more global platform, whereas this was designed for the US market. The G80 sedan just drives so nice for what you get. Complaints on this GV80? Not too many. I think the infotainment controls are a little bit clumsy. The looks are probably subjective, but I think most people are going to like them. The dealer experience is probably lacking with Genesis right now, and I know they're doing some work to fix that and address some issues with concierge services and stuff like that. But otherwise, I think this is a pretty solid buy. It has a cool factor, which is a little bit intangible of a thing that you can't quite measure, and that's mostly based on perception too. But I think people like the look and the aesthetic of this thing, and it's gained some recent notoriety and popularity recently due to an unfortunate accident. But I think it is a cool new SUV, and those are kind of few and far between. There aren't a lot of SUVs in the market that are cool, so to speak. But this Genesis somehow manages to do that. Alright guys, well I think we'll wrap things up right there. If you want to stick around for an Lexicon audio sound system test, stay tuned for the end of this video. But those are my thoughts on the Genesis GV80 2.5 liter turbo rear wheel drive. Again, if you live in a warmer climate where you don't see a lot of snow and you're not going to be taking your GV80 off-road, rear wheel drive might not be a bad option if you want to save a few bucks. Honestly, I probably think that the all-wheel drive is the way to go. If you're going to get an SUV with increased ground clearance and you're going to be taking it somewhere where you might need it someday off-road, probably best to go with the all-wheel drive just to have it. But this rear-wheel drive car does drive very well and puts its power down quite nicely. I like how the proximity sensor, the parking sensors kick on when you approach a curb and immediately show you a camera view of what you're approaching. Just a little thoughtful stuff like that adds up over time. We'll walk you around this GV80 one more time and listen to the Lexicon premium audio. Alright, so how quickly can Apple CarPlay pop up here? Pretty quickly. I like it. Same deal with the sound system, a pretty decent sounding premium audio system for the money. Nowhere near Volvo's or Acura's ELS system, but that's okay. Alright guys, we'll leave it there. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video. Take care.